If you are listening to this right now, you probably want to stop picking the wrong customization tool in Claude.
Yeah, which happens a lot.
Right. So today's deep dive is based on a really highly detailed technical guide, and it covers the 3 layers of Claude customization.
It's a great breakdown.
It really is. And our mission today is straightforward. We are going to give you a definitive framework so you can decide exactly where to put your instructions, like in seconds.
Without all that second guessing.
Exactly. But before we get into the solution, I actually have a confession to make to you.
Oh boy. Let's hear it.
Yeah. For the longest time, when I wanted to customize my AI, I used to just take every single rule, every formatting preference, every specific task instruction I had.
And you just threw it all in?
I would just dump it into one massive prompt. Or worse, actually, I would cram it all into the main global settings box.
Oh, wow.
And then I would sit there just incredibly frustrated, wondering why the outputs were so wildly inconsistent. Like one day the AI is brilliant, and the next day it just completely ignores my most basic rules.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. It is the digital equivalent of throwing all of your power tools, your winter clothes, and your fresh groceries into one giant cardboard box.
Right.
Shaking it up and then getting upset when you reach in blind and pull out a wrench instead of an apple.
That is exactly what it felt like.
You are giving the system all the right materials, sure, but absolutely no structural context for when to actually use them.
Okay, let's unpack this because there has to be a much better way to handle this than the giant cardboard box method.
Absolutely.
I just know so many people who are dealing with that exact same friction right now.
Yeah, so we need to land the core mental model right away. According to the technical guide we are analyzing, there are 3 distinct layers of customization in Claude, and they each perform 3 entirely different jobs. If you only internalize one concept from this entire discussion, let it be this division of labor.
All right, what is it?
A skill answers how to do a task, right? A project answers what the work is fundamentally about.
Good.
And custom instructions answer who Claude is for you on a global scale.
How, what, and who. Okay, let me try an analogy here to make sure I am visualizing this architecture correctly before we go any deeper.
Go for it.
Let's think of this like running a restaurant.
Okay, I like that.
The skill is the specific recipe. It's the exact step-by-step procedure of how you cook a signature dish.
Perfect, yes.
Then the project is your kitchen pantry and your prep station. So it's what you have to work with, meaning, your raw ingredients and your workspace for that specific meal service.
Right, the container.
And the custom instructions. That is the restaurant's overall brand identity.
Yes, exactly.
Like, whether you are operating a hushed fine dining steakhouse or a loud casual taco stand, that overarching theme dictates who you are to the customer in every single interaction.
That is a perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
Following that logic, you don't redefine the restaurant's entire brand identity just to cook one single dish.
Right.
And you definitely don't store your recipes inside the flour bin. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire decision-making process for customization comes down to a really simple rule of optimization.
Which is?
Pick the smallest layer that still covers your functional need.
The smallest layer.
Yeah, the architecture is literally designed to prevent you from over-engineering your prompts.
Okay, so if the skill is just the isolated recipe, what does that actually look like in the interface?
Sure, let's break it down.
Let's ground this with a concrete example from the source material. Suppose you, the listener, are marketing a local business, right?
Okay.
And a massive part of your weekly job is making video clips for social media?
Well, in that scenario, the specific procedure for building each of those clips is your skill. Structurally, a skill is defined as a reusable procedure.
So it's a process you repeat.
Exactly. It is essentially a folder containing instructions written in plain markdown text. The core file is literally just named skill.md.
So you are basically just teaching the system the mechanics of a recurring task.
Right. You might outline the specific diagnostic questions the AI needs to ask you to identify good sound bites and the exact markdown format you need the final text delivered in.
And that procedure is a skill because it is the how.
You got it.
And because it's just a markdown text file, it doesn't require me to be like a software engineer to write one.
No, not at all.
I'm just typing out a clear set of steps in plain English.
Yeah, the technical reality is very accessible. You don't necessarily need custom code for simple procedural skills, though they do require the code execution feature to be enabled in your account.
Good to know.
But the critical defining trait of a skill is its portability.
What do you mean by that?
Because it is an independent procedure, It travels with you. You write that skill file once, and you can deploy it in a one-off, regular chat, inside any specialized project, or even through Claude Code.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the skill handles the mechanics, but where do I keep all the actual raw materials I'm working on?
That's the next layer.
Because if I'm doing this local business marketing, I have brand photos, I have target audience personas, I have past transcripts. I mean, I can't put all of that into a portable skill file.
No, you can't. And that brings us directly to layer 2, which is projects.
The what?
Yes, the what. A project is a persistent workspace built around one specific body of work. It is a container that holds 3 distinct elements.
Okay, what are they?
Your uploaded knowledge files, custom instructions that are scoped only to that specific workspace, and the ongoing chat history of every conversation you have inside it.
Which means the context window on these projects is massive.
Very massive.
The guide actually notes it holds roughly 500 pages of reference material. But this actually brings up a huge point of confusion for me.
Okay, what is it?
If a project has a 500-page memory and storage is essentially free, why can't I just dump all my procedural skills and all my brand guidelines straight into the project's knowledge base and just let the AI sort it out?
Ah,
Like, why bother separating the how from the what if the container is really that big?
because that is the exact trap most users fall into.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You have to understand how large language models manage information retrieval. When you dump hundreds of pages of procedural rules, brand guidelines, and raw data into a single container, you create a needle in a haystack problem for the AI.
Oh, I see.
Yes, the context window can technically hold 500 pages, but the more irrelevant information you force the AI to hold in its active memory, the harder it has to work to find the specific rule you want it to follow for a single prompt.
So it gets confused.
It degrades the reasoning quality. A project gives the system background knowledge that is always loaded. But a project is a container, not a trigger.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So the project provides the atmosphere and the raw data, but it doesn't actively run a workflow by itself.
Exactly.
Going back to our local business example, the project would be like the multi-week Q4 marketing campaign.
Perfect example.
That is where I upload the accumulating body of marketing assets and the campaign history. The project has its own universe of information. But when I actually need to format a specific video clip, I bring the portable video clip skill into that project to do the work.
The distinction is vital for maintaining high-quality outputs. The project is the what. The skill is the how. And that leaves us with the final piece of the architecture, which is layer 3, custom instructions.
The who, which the guide defines as our global defaults.
Yes, these are the core preferences applied to every single conversation you have, regardless of the task, regardless of the project you're currently sitting in.
So it's baseline.
It completely defines the AI's baseline persona.
Using our marketing scenario again, my custom instructions might simply be use short sentences and absolutely no filler words.
Right.
Because I want that direct communication style applied to everything I do.
Exactly.
Whether I am writing a casual email, brainstorming a complex campaign, or asking for help analyzing a spreadsheet, that baseline personality just needs to be consistent.
Breadth is the defining trait of custom instructions. But that breadth is also its primary limitation.
How so?
Because it applies to absolutely everything you do in the interface, it is the absolute wrong place for anything narrow, procedural, or specific to one type of task.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the way these 3 layers separate your instructions completely solves that massive technical problem you mentioned earlier, the overloaded context window.
It really does.
But I do have a lingering question about how skills actually deploy in real time.
Okay.
Because the guide mentions that skills use a mechanism called progressive disclosure.
Right. Progressive disclosure.
Meaning the skill only loads into the active memory when it's relevant.
Yeah, the mechanics of progressive disclosure are actually brilliant. To use an analogy, think of a highly efficient surgical operating room.
Okay.
The surgeon, which is the AI, does not have every single medical tool, saw, and scalpel dumped onto the operating table at once.
That would be terrifying.
It would be chaotic and dangerous. Instead, the surgical nurse watches the procedure, understands what the surgeon is trying to achieve, and hands them the exact scalpel they need, only at the exact moment they need it.
So the system is the nurse evaluating my prompt and deciding which skill to hand over to the context window.
Exactly. It saves processing power and keeps the AI focused.
But wait, if the system is deciding when to load a skill, does that mean I have to type an exact robotic magic password to trigger it?
People ask this all the time, like, do I have to sit there and type execute video clip procedure alpha to
Yeah.
get the nurse to hand over the tool?
Not at all. And that is a very common misconception that holds people back from using skills effectively. The system matches your prompt to the skill based on semantic intent, not a literal string of text. Semantic intent.
Right. The AI is reading your prompt for underlying meaning.
The guide actually has a fantastic example for this. Let's say you have a skill, and in the description file you wrote, use this when extracting tickers from a video.
Yep.
If you go into the chat and simply type, hey, pull the stocks out of this clip, the skill will absolutely fire.
Yes, it will.
Even though you didn't use the specific keyword extracting or the keyword tickers, the semantic engine understands that pulling stocks means the exact same thing as extracting tickers.
Exactly. It is not sitting there waiting for a rigid password.
All right.
The underlying mechanism there is a meta prompt.
A meta prompt.
Yeah, before the AI even begins to write your response, a hidden evaluation step looks at the intent of your request, scans the descriptions of your available skills, and determines if there is a conceptual match.
Which means the way you write the description for your skill is incredibly crucial.
It is everything.
Because if the AI relies on that description to know when to hand over the tool, you can't just write, does marketing stuff.
No, you definitely cannot. And the source provides a highly effective pro tip for writing these descriptions. A strong skill description does 3 specific things.
Okay, what are they?
First, it names the exact trigger situations. Second, it explicitly states what the skill does not do.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which creates a negative boundary to prevent it from misfiring on similar but unrelated tasks. And third, it keeps the text tight and concise.
That makes sense.
If you write a massive, rambling paragraph for a description, you dilute the semantic match signal, and the system might get confused about when to deploy it.
It's almost like giving a coworker a very clear, highly specific job title.
Exactly like that.
If their title is just business guy, people will pull them into every irrelevant meeting.
Yes.
But if their title is database migration specialist, everyone knows exactly when to tap them on the shoulder.
Now, even with this mental model of the how, the what, and the who, users still fall into deeply ingrained bad habits.
Oh, yeah.
The guide outlines 3 major mistakes people make when trying to force their old mentalities into this new layered architecture.
Oh, I was reading the section on these 3 mistakes, and I felt personally attacked.
A lot of people do.
It is so relatable. Let's spend some real time here, because this is where I think you, the person listening right now, are going to recognize your own pain points.
Let's do it.
Mistake number 1, putting process rules inside a project.
This happens constantly in corporate environments. Someone creates a project for a new product launch, and in the custom instructions for that specific project container, they write a rigid rule.
Like what?
Like, always use our specific corporate brand voice, adhering to the attached style guide when generating any public-facing text.
Which, on the surface, sounds completely logical.
Right.
It's a marketing project. Obviously, you want the marketing brand voice. Why is that a mistake?
The structural failure happens because that rule dies at the project boundary.
Ah, I see.
The moment you step outside that specific Q4 project to draft a quick response to a vendor in a regular chat, or you start a brand new project for a different campaign next month, that brand voice rule is completely gone.
It doesn't travel.
It does not follow you.
Right. Because if we go back to our mental model, brand voice is a set of rules about how to write.
Exactly.
And how always means it should be a skill.
If it is a procedure, a strict rule of execution, or a specific tone that you need to call upon frequently across different contexts, it belongs in a skill. That way, the brand voice skill travels with you to any chat or any project you are currently working in.
Which leads directly into mistake number 2.
This is a big one.
Stuffing universal rules into every single project. I'm so guilty of this. I used to just do the old SUTRILC, Control C, Control V.
Oh, the copy and paste method.
Endlessly copying and pasting the exact same massive block of formatting instructions into the setup of every single new project I created.
It's a nightmare.
I literally had a Google Doc just called Claude Rules that I would paste everywhere.
The guide explicitly calls that duplication a massive red flag for your workflow. Think about the cascading nightmare of updating those rules.
I don't even want to think about it.
If your company changes its formatting preferences and you have pasted that rule into 50 different projects, you now have to manually hunt down and update 50 different project settings.
Yeah, that is
If
terrible.
you were doing the Control-C, Control-V routine, you were inherently using the wrong layer.
Because if a rule applies to multiple bodies of work, it has absolutely no business being locked inside a single project's container.
It should either be a skill, if it is a specific procedure you call on occasionally, or a custom instruction, if it is a global preference you want active at all times. Duplication is the enemy of a clean, functional system.
And that brings us to the final pitfall, mistake number 3, overloading global custom instructions.
This one is subtle but destructive.
This is the one that really hit home for me because it explains a technical glitch I honestly thought was my fault.
Which glitch?
You know that feeling when you are deep in a chat, the workflow's going great, and then suddenly the AI just degrades.
Yes.
It stops following your rules, it starts formatting things weirdly, or it completely forgets a constraint you established 10 minutes ago.
The outputs become erratic, and the system appears to suffer from memory loss.
I always thought the system was just glitching out under the load. But the guide explains exactly why this happens mechanically.
That's not a glitch?
It happens because we pack narrow, highly task-specific rules into the global custom instructions layer. We tell it to always format tables a certain way for financial reports, and always use a specific code structure for Python, and always answer in Spanish for certain queries.
Right.
We put all of those hyper-specific rules into the global WHO layer.
What's fascinating here is that the system isn't breaking down because it forgets.
Okay, then why?
It breaks down because of how large language models manage attention. When you pack your global settings with rigid rules about Python and financial tables, the AI is forced to allocate cognitive weight to those instructions for every single prompt you enter.
Oh, wow. So if I am in a chat asking the AI to write a creative, emotional short story, but my global custom instructions are screaming at it about how to format Python code,
Distracted.
those coding rules are actively competing for the system's mathematical attention. I am forcing it to hold all this irrelevant semantic baggage in its active memory while it tries to write a poem.
The semantic noise overwhelms the task. There are simply too many conflicting rules competing for priority. It goes back to the core principle of optimization we discussed.
Pick the smallest layer that still covers the need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If a rule should only apply to one specific type of task, like formatting Python, absolutely do not put it in custom instructions. Keep the global layer clean, broad, and minimal.
So to avoid this entire mess, to stop the AI from hallucinating, to stop the rules from bleeding into each other, we really have to respect the boundaries of these 3 tools.
We have to.
But how do we actually use them together in practice? If they are separated, how do I get a complex job done?
This raises an important question because the ultimate takeaway from this technical guide is that these 3 layers are not isolated silos. They're not rivals. They stack.
They work together simultaneously on the same prompt.
Let's walk through a single complex request to synthesize the entire architecture.
Okay, let's hear it.
Imagine you are sitting inside your persistent Q4 marketing campaign project. You upload a brand new raw transcript from a 1-hour customer interview, and you type a very simple prompt.
Like extract the key pain points and format them for our weekly report.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is actually happening under the hood when I hit enter?
The system activates all 3 layers instantly. First, your custom instructions immediately set the baseline tone.
Meaning the output will naturally use those short sentences and no filler words you prefer globally.
Right. Second, the project container automatically loads all the relevant background knowledge, the historical campaign data, the target audience specs, and the previous reports you've uploaded to that workspace over the last month.
And the third layer.
Third, the system's meta prompt recognizes your semantic intent to format a weekly report. So progressive disclosure pulls in your specific weekly report formatting skill, which supplies the exact structural procedure for the output.
That is incredible when you break it down like that. Each layer is executing its own specific job perfectly.
Without any overlap.
I didn't have to re-explain my tone preferences. I didn't have to re-upload the entire campaign history just for this one chat. And I didn't have to manually type out the reporting format step by step.
No, you didn't.
I matched the layer to the job and the architecture did all the heavy lifting. The result is a consistent, highly context-aware output.
It just works.
So what does this all mean? For you, the listener, it means your days of relying on the giant cardboard box of prompts are over. You don't have to suffer through degraded AI outputs anymore. You have a clean, logical system to organize your workflows.
To summarize the framework really simply, skill is the how, project is the what, custom instructions are the who.
Beautiful. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there is one final, really provocative detail hidden in the source text that we haven't fully explored, and I want to leave you with this thought to mull over.
Oh, the file sharing part.
Yeah, the guide mentions that because a skill is fundamentally just a simple text-based skill.md file, it is not locked inside your personal user account or your chat history.
It is entirely portable and versionable outside of the Claude ecosystem.
So think about the massive implications of that for a second. If a skill is just a file on your hard drive, imagine what happens when you start versioning, tracking, and sharing those skill files with your entire team via a shared drive or a GitHub repository.
It changes everything.
You are no longer just customizing a chatbot for your own personal productivity. You are literally downloading and trading your coworkers' best operational procedures.
A literal marketplace of skills.
The most efficient person on your team can codify how they do a complex task into a skill file, hand you that file, and suddenly you can execute that exact same task with their exact level of precision. The question isn't just how you are going to customize your AI anymore, it's whose skills are you going to download next.